Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's just tell some stories. I've owned a custom motorcycle shop for many years. Started it in the year 2001 in Los Angeles, and we moved it to Florida in 2004. Been rocking and rolling ever since. And when we first came to Florida, a bunch of the 1% motorcycle clubs crashed our shop, wondering who we were, what we were about. Me and my brother kind of had a reputation just in the streets, and we were pretty well known. So that might have led some of the people into the showroom wondering, who are you guys and what are you doing here? And we were received fairly well. And we got invited to an outlaw party. So I'll tell you about that. What's it like going to a 1% party? Now, the reason why we agreed to go was because it felt like it would be a place to pass out some business cards and some stickers and to drum up some business for the shop. Everybody there is a biker. They all have motorcycles. A lot of these guys work on their bikes themselves, but we're a custom shop and do fabrication and all kinds of stuff. And maybe you're doing your oil changes in your garage, but you're not building fenders in your garage or whatever, making gas tanks. Now, one of the clubs that crashed our shop right away was the Mongols. And maybe it was because of the California connection, who knows what it was. But they came through and they're very nice, and they seemed to be courting us in a way where they really wanted us to join their club. Invited us to their clubhouse several times. And, we're not interested in that. And I was well aware of the Mongols and their history, and I knew all about them. They didn't really know much about us, but we knew all about them. Nonetheless, we decided to ride up there to the party up on Main Street with them. It wasn't their party. They were just showing up. It was an outlaw party, and it was at the Main Street station. And it happened, this is 20 years ago or so, but it happened right before Bike Week. So Main Street was setting up. There's vendors that show up a week or week and a half before the event pops off, and they set up all their scaffolding for their vendor areas and the stage that they have for all the bands and all that stuff. Like a carnival, it goes up a week beforehand. So there's a party up on Main Street, but Main Street's fairly dead. Not a lot of action other than, like I said, the vendors and businesses getting ready. And we roll in. There's already lots of people there. We show up fashionably late. It's an outlaw party for the Outlaws Motorcycle Club, and that one of their top members, really well-respected members, had just gotten out of the hospital. I don't know if he had cancer or what he had, but everybody had been really concerned about him apparently, and it was a big party for him. The Mongols showed up full force, lots of members. The pagans were there, lots of members, and one lone warlock. The warlocks are an enemy club. These guys all kill each other. But one lone warlock was there. Don't ask me why. Maybe to show respects, who the hell knows. But he stood there in the parking lot, and nobody messed with him. Nobody touched him. Nobody talked to him. It's like he was invisible. I mean, he wasn't. People saw him. They walked around him rather than walk anywhere near him. And he just stood there in the parking lot with his drink, hanging out. We were notified as soon as we got there by somebody that the buildings across the street, most likely, I didn't see any cameras, but most likely were full of cameras by either or both the feds and the History Channel, who was at the time running a very popular docu-series about 1% motorcycle clubs. And they profiled every single club. They ran out of clubs, and that's why they stopped the show. Now, I was getting teased. From the time I parked my bike, people were looking at me and pointing. To the time I left, I had comments about my shoes. Every single other person there, my brother included, every single other person at the party had black boots on. Every person except for me. I had bright white sneakers. I've always worn, sneakers and different stuff, Chuck Taylors, whatever. I mean, I have boots, but maybe it's just a California thing. In California, you see guys riding with shorts, you see guys riding with tank tops, you see guys riding with sneakers, and that's always been a thing. But here on the East Coast, maybe they're a little more casual now, but especially since Sons of Anarchy came out, where the main character was wearing white sneakers, and the guy who wrote that show may have either been at that party or he may have been across the street in one of those buildings with one of the cameras looking at me, because I was the first white sneaker biker, and the one percenters didn't even know what to think about it. They had prospects who don't have their patches yet, and they were doing the parking attendants, they were running the merchandise tables, and these guys were running around working, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. We walked up to one of the merchandise tables, and this guy, big guy, covered in tattoos all over his face, pretty scary tattoos, pretty scary-looking guy. He's like, "How you doing, sir? Can I help you, sir?" And real bright-eyed, bushy-tail and business-like, and they're just trying their best to get in the club. And, if one of the patched members says, drive 3 miles away, go buy a pizza and deliver it, to someone in another state, well, he's going to go do that. These guys do whatever they're told. I was standing next to a top brass in the Pagans, a top brass guy in the Mongols, and then one of the OGs of the Outlaws, much older. These people were my parents' age. And we're just kind of standing around, hanging out, enjoying the weather and the party. And there's music going. And these guys start talking about this black and white world that they just created, where they have this alliance between the black and white clubs in order to defend their turf from the Hells Angels, the big bad wolf, the mighty Hells Angels. They wanted to put up a wall, and they felt that all three of their clubs, the Hells Angels, the Pagans, the Mongols, and the Outlaws, would be able to do that. Now, it's none of my business. I'm not part of their scene. I'm just standing there. But I did mention, because I was in the streets for quite a long time, and I understand how politics works. I understand how the mob works. My dad was killed in a gang war in 1991 by his enemies. I know about that world. And I told him, no, this is not going to work. And they're looking at me like, well, what are you talking about? Not going to work. And they're like, black and white world, and hugging each other and stuff. And I'm just like, it's not going to work. If you guys don't see the obvious flaw in your plot, then hey, whatever, good luck. And we eventually left. Not for any reason, but it just, it's not our scene. We passed out some cards. I've been on their federal, film, their documentary, and the feds filming it. I've been on that long enough. I think it's time to go. Well, fast forward 20 years. I was right. All three of these clubs are shooting each other at gas stations. There's a war going on in this area right now with these guys. And our sheriff, we have this gung-ho, crazy sheriff. He is all about it. He's arrested like 200 of them in the last couple months. Thanks for watching.